us help you start your day. Want to get this briefing by email? Here's the sign up. Good morning. At least 49 people were killed in a terrorist attack in New Zealand. Britain will seek a Brexit postponement, and radio messages shed light on the crash of Flight 302. Here's the latest. 49 people were killed in shootings at two mosques in central Christchurch, New Zealand, on Friday, in what Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern called a terrorist attack. A male in his late 20s has been charged with murder and will appear in a Christchurch court Saturday morning, the police said. 3 other people have been taken into custody, but it is unclear if they were involved. The gunman broadcast a livestream on Facebook of part of the attack. The horrifying footage shows him arriving at a mosque and firing on people inside until they lay motionless in corners. Before the shooting, someone appearing to be the gunman publicly posted links to a white supremacist manifesto and identified himself as a 28-year-old man born in Australia. Here's our live briefing. After 2 long years of negotiations, lawmakers voted to delay the country's departure from the EU beyond the original March 29 deadline. In a flurry of votes on several amendments, Parliament also rejected holding a second referendum on Brexit, and turned down an attempt to seize control of the process from Prime Minister Theresa May. What's next? Mrs. May must get permission to postpone Brexit from EU officials next week, but that might only create new problems. Without an approved deal, it's unclear how long the extension should be and what can be achieved in the extra time. Too short, and it would be impractical. Too long, and Britain would have to take part in European Parliament elections in May, which neither of the main political parties want. The Times obtained an account of radio messages before the crash of Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302, which went down almost immediately after takeoff from Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. A minute after departure, Captain Yared Getachew calmly reported a flight control problem, according to a person who reviewed air traffic communications. 3 minutes in a panicky voice, he requested permission to return to the airport. For reasons that are unclear, the aircraft, a new Boeing 737 MAX 8, appeared to have accelerated to speeds well beyond its safety limits. Air traffic controllers observed that it was going up and down by hundreds of feet. Then the plane disappeared from radar, crashing and killing all 157 people on board. Because of similarities with a plane crash off Indonesia in October that involved the Boeing 737 MAX 8, the model has been grounded worldwide. Another angle, after the disaster in Indonesia, Boeing officials told American pilot unions that they plan to update the software for their 737 MAX jets by about the end of 2018. Months later, the carriers are still waiting for a fix. Marian Kochner, a prominent Slovakian businessman, has been charged with ordering the murder of an investigative journalist, opening a new chapter in a crime that set off large protests and last year forced the resignation of Robert Fico, who was then the prime minister, and other top government officials. The journalist, Jan Kuciak, was fatally shot in his home in February 2018. His fiancée, Martina Kuznarova, was also killed there. Mr. Kuciak had been threatened by Mr. Kochner, a high-flying Slovakian businessman who was a subject of Mr. Kuciak's reporting. In charging Mr. Kochner with paying a hitman $80,000 to kill the journalist, the authorities in Slovakia hope to regain a measure of the public trust that has been shattered by the killings and by the rife corruption that Mr. Kuciak and other reporters were working to expose. Mr. Kochner, who is currently in jail awaiting trial on unrelated fraud charges, has denied any illicit connections. Looking ahead, the announcement of the charges came 2 days before a presidential election. The governing party, tainted by the scandal, is behind in the polls. U.S. Congress, the Senate, in a bipartisan rebuke, voted to overturn President Trump's declaration of a national emergency at the southern border to fund his wall. The Senate vote was the first time Congress has blocked a presidential emergency declaration and almost certainly sets up Mr. Trump's first veto. And the House voted 420-0 to demand the public release of the report that the special counsel, Robert Mueller, is assigned to submit to the Attorney General. Climate change. Students in more than 100 countries will be protesting climate change today in what could be one of the largest demonstrations yet against global environmental policies. It all started with a shy 16-year-old in Sweden. EU Parliament, the president of the body, Antonio Tajani, incited outrage and apologized after putting a positive slant on Benito Mussolini, Italy's fascist former leader.